Cult of the Lamb released in 2022 for the PlayStation, Xbox, PC, and Nintendo Switch. It's had a number of updates since then, adding additional content to the game, including new weapons, cosmetic items, and ways to upgrade your cult. I played Cult of the Lamb on the PlayStation 5 through the PlayStation Plus Extra catalog of games. So, is Cult of the Lamb worth checking out? This review is going to answer that question. Cult of the Lamb is a strange combination of roguelike and city builder, or maybe survival game, where you have to build a small community of followers while launching crusades against your enemies. It's two distinct gameplay parts that are meshed together in a way that complements each other. Upgrades in your community allow you to have better weapons and equipment during your crusades, while you pick up items and materials during your runs to enhance your community. But first, let's talk about the graphics and technicals of Cult of the Lamb. For technicals, the game is pretty polished with no glitches, bugs, or crashes during my playthrough. The frame rate was steady during the roguelike sections, but there were major slowdowns during the settlement building parts. When the game would transition from night to day, or any time that I needed to pull up a list of my villagers, the game would grind to a halt to load them. For graphics, Cult of the Lamb has this cutesy, cartoon aesthetic that is at odds with its serious and horrific tone, which I think was perfect. The idea that these cute cartoon bunnies and frogs and a lamb would sacrifice each other or be in a cult makes the art style really stand out, and I could see why so many people were talking about this game when it was released. I don't think anyone is going to have any complaints regarding the graphics of Cult of the Lamb, although there were times that I wish the game would let me pull the camera back or zoom in. Things in the community building sections were always just out of sight, making me do a loop. Or buildings would be in the way, and I would have liked the ability to tilt or rotate the camera to see what was going on. Moving on to gameplay, I'm going to break Cult of the Lamb down into two parts, the cult community building and the crusading roguelike. Cult of the Lamb has you building a new cult to oppose the old faith, with the lamb as the head of faith. Your followers all need food and shelter and other requirements, while also needing a place to poop. If you don't feed them, they starve. If you don't clean up their poop, they risk getting sick and dying. All of these separate mechanics are shown in the top left corner of the screen, along with your faith meter. If your faith falls too low, you may have a rebellion on your hands. The goal of the community building portion is to make sure your followers are healthy and happy, so that they can supply faith to you. Faith is used to unlock new buildings for your cult, while helping your cult members level them up. The higher the level of your followers, the more experience you get for the Lamb's crusade. This experience can be used to purchase new and higher tier weapons on the crusades, helping the Lamb in combat. Every time a follower levels up, you get more experience. But the best part is when you sacrifice a follower for power, granting you a large amount of experience based on the follower's levels, you can spend it on upgrades. The crusades can be really difficult, so upgrading the Lamb through sacrifice and sermons is a key aspect in order to beat the game. The second part of Cult of the Lamb is the crusades themselves. This is the roguelike section of the game, where the Lamb wields a weapon and goes through various maps in search of one of the bishops, these boss monsters that are responsible for the Lamb's troubles. There are 4 worlds in Cult of the Lamb, each with their own types of enemies and environments. As you progress through each, you will stumble onto NPCs that will help you out by giving you or selling you new items such as relics that have special powers that require recharging, new followers, or other bonuses or materials for your camp. The combat reminded me a lot of Hades. It's this combination of bullet hell and melee where you need to clear rooms before progressing to the next one. It can be pretty challenging at times, and the upgrade you get from your cult is a necessity. Starting each run with upgraded weapons and relics, and even bringing a possessed follower along to fight with you, can make the difference between success and failure. For the story, the narrative is pretty simple. You play as the lamb, the last remaining one of its kind. Right off the bat, you're sacrificed by the 4 old gods, and the 5th, an imprisoned deity known as the One Who Waits, resurrects you and gives you a crown. There is some lore to unlock as you play, and after the main campaign is over, you have the opportunity to keep going, unlocking more bits as you go. There are also a few NPCs you keep running into on your runs, and the bosses will speak to you occasionally, revealing things about the god you serve, but it all remains pretty simple. It will likely take you about 10 to 15 hours to beat Cult of the Lamb, and more if you want to keep going through the levels in the post-campaign. Let's go through the pros and cons of Cult of the Lamb. For the pros, the game looks good with a cartoon art style mixed with Lovecraftian horror. The combat is fun and engaging, and I enjoyed playing through the runs. If I did die, they were only about 10 or 15 minutes each, so I didn't feel like I lost a lot of progress. There's a definite feeling of progress in both the settlement building and the roguelike aspects. When you get an upgrade to your weapons, you can feel the difference. It's not just a random stat that doesn't much matter. For the cons, some of the settlement and cult management parts can be very tedious. Your followers are constantly hungry, beds and shelters are always breaking, and you never have enough resources in the beginning of the game until the late game where you have way too many resources and nothing to spend it on. The cosmetics and decorations for your settlement are overwhelming. There are so many to unlock, and you won't have the resources to build them until you beat the game, at which point, why are you even building them? Whenever you need to open a menu to select a follower, expect a big slowdown and FPS drop until it loads. It gets worse the more followers you have, and the FPS tanks when night transitions to day as well. And that's it for another review. I think Cult of the Lamb is definitely worth checking out on console, especially since it's free right now on PlayStation Plus Extra, and it's usually on sale through Steam if you want to play it on PC. I'm the Casual Console Gamer, and I'll see you all in the next review.